This week's Race of the Week is the MX5 Super Cup from Croft. A very, very interesting race, this one, with a 5-way race-long battle for the podium positions in what was very tricky conditions. On and off rain, and then a battle for the lead in the last couple of laps. Commiserate the fact that it's not coming home by watching this epic race.
It's a decent start from Jack Harding. Better start on the outside of the front row of the grid. So Jack Harding from the front row leads, but what a start from Joe Wiggin. He's come up the inside from the second row of the grid. He's come alongside Patrick Fletcher. They'll be side by side for second down towards Clairvaux for the first time, but it's Jack Harding who gets the whole shot. He turns in first from Wiggin in second place as he wiggles his way through Clairvaux and Hawthorns. It's third for Fletcher. Fourth has gone to Tom Griffiths, who goes round the outside of Jack Brewer. James Cousins, who had a really rough year, is up in sixth and all out of shape on the exit of Hawthorns there. Was in fact Amy Watts, but I think she's still leading the club cars. Yes, I think she is. It might be Ollie Hall, in fact, actually met up a couple of places. We'll wait and see. Onto the back straight for the first time. It's Harding, Wiggin and Fletcher. That's the top three. And the tyre stack's been clipped by somebody. So that's down the middle of the track. The cars are 2 and 3 abreast in the mix. There's James Cousins going wheel to wheel with Jack Brewer. A little bit of a hip and shoulder there from Jack out exiting Tower Bend. And out of shape majorly there, I think, was Alex Jones. But he's held on to it. He's got Wilbur Tarley, Alex Stott trying to pick his way through. And the rain started to come down now through the Jim Clark S's. You can see it there, wipers of blades as they go through the Jim Clark S's for the first time. Through Barcroft. Out towards the sunny and sunny out. That's Jack Sycamore up the inside of Jack Brewer. And there, in blue, orange and black, is number one. Aidan Hill's defending Pro Class champion. As Jack Brewer runs out wide, he loses out to both Jack Sycamore and Jack Sycamore's team boss, which is Aidan Hills. They're both running, of course, in the Hills Motorsport stable, if I remember correctly. Through the complex, and Harding now, who, it's been a while since we've seen him in the field, but good to see that he really is going for it, and a great start from the front row. It seems as though that outside the front row is the stronger option to get a better start off the line. We saw that from the Fiesta Juniors earlier on, and it's certainly proving true here in this first race of Super Cup. Cross the line to end lap number one then. So it's Harding who leads, Wiggin in second place, and the gap for the lead is now already 1.2 seconds. So this is pretty Jack Harding of old already in this first lap. Jack, of course, a former championship contender multiple times before. Sadly, always missed out on the championship, but he was always up there battling with the likes of Luke Herbert and Patrick Fletcher and co, and indeed Aidan Hills. So he's lost none of his touch in an MX5 Super Cup car. He's more recently, prior to this short little cameo comeback, he's been racing mainly in the Civic Cup, where he took a couple of wins, but had lots of up and down fortunes, unfortunately, for Jack, and he's trying to hold on and just come back and just test the waters again, see how quick he really is. And he's certainly proving himself to be quite the capable MX5 Super Cup racer, as he always was. Now through the right-hander and up towards Jim Clark S's for the second time. It's still Wiggin in second place, leading the train that's chasing after Jack at this point. Through the S's we go. Favourite part of the circuit for me, left and right, that flat out Jim Clark S's. It might be not totally flat out, but it'll certainly be quite high speed. Barcroft here has been tricky for a couple of drivers too. We saw Alex Kite, of course, come off and have that incident in Civic Cup. Patrick Fletcher runs wide to the first part, and that's going to put him on the grass. And under threat from Tom Griffiths right behind. They turn out through Sunny out, and now the short straight towards the complex here, where they'll wind their way back towards the hairpin and back to the start and finish straight. And Fletcher again was a little wide with the first part, trying to find the grip, find the slightly grippier, slightly drier parts of the circuit. But the fact the rain's coming down is not going to be helping all that much. Griffiths goes on the attack, looks round the outside and forces Fletcher to go defensive into the hairpin. And watch for car number one, watch for Aidan Hills, the defending champion. He's trying to get himself in the mix too. He's got James Cousins, his teammate, right behind him. And now as they sprint down the pit straight, this is now for third position. It's got Fletcher on the right in black and red. It's blue and yellow for Tom Griffiths. He has the inside line into Clairvaux, breaks that a little bit hard later into the right-hander, and through he goes into podium place. And now Patrick Fletcher under threat from his main championship rival Aidan Hills, who really needs to get past him and take some points off him here as they come through the S's now for the third time and onto the back straight. As ever in MX5 Super Cup, Richard John Neal, fast and furious. But as for Jack Harding, it's a casual Saturday afternoon drive at the moment. He's out by 2.2 seconds and pulling away like he's never been away from Super Cup.
Superb stuff, isn't it? Really great first couple of opening laps, and he's away and down the road at the moment. Big bun fight going on, though, between these guys. And Hills on the outside at Tower gets the better of Fletcher. So it's Griffiths, the next man. Equally, is going to be equally as hard to get to pass. But wonderful stuff by Aidan Hills, who I saw in the paddock and was ruining the fact that he was so far down, but it doesn't seem to matter for Aidan because he's a quick starter and now makes his way through and past very neatly Tom Griffiths. So Hills now up into third place. He's on the podium from a lowly grid spot, but he's got Jack Harding and Joe Wiggin up ahead of him. Hills, I think, would he have taken a podium given his bad qualifying? I don't know. Every place gained, hard earned, and he's there. And you can see actually breaking the toe a little bit now from Tom Griffiths. Although Tom now closing up as they come back. The concertina effect comes into play as they come into the complex towards the end of the lap. Wipers working hard on the cars. Wiggin immediately ahead of him. They come neatly out of the hairpin down the straight to head towards Clervaux once again. 9 minutes 41 on the clock. They pick up the signals from the pit crews on the wall. Harding, Wiggin, Hills, Griffiths and Fletcher. James Cossins next up in 6th from Jack Sycamore. Jack Brewer, who qualified well. Jack Brewer telling me that he'd actually never been beaten here in Mark 1s. Mark 3's, of course, Super Cup, a different thing altogether, but he was very happy with his qualifying today.
Yeah, we played that interview just before the start of the race,
Cool.
so good to hear from Jack, of course, and good to see him having that full season after that really rough, premature end to his season, after that really awful incident he had at Brands Hatch. He's fully recovered from it, now trying to push forwards. Speaking of pushing forwards, this is now the top two in the championship, side by side and wheel to wheel and towards Tower Bend, and that is Aidan Hills, who, should remind you, is a former junior rallycross star, a junior rallycross champion. And because of that, I was slightly surprised that he was back in 12th in qualifying. He started back on the 6th row of the grid, but certainly wasting no time in picking his way back up the order to 2nd place. And now he's going to be battling away with Jack Harding shortly if he can catch him. This is like 2019 all over again, I think, isn't it?
It certainly does look that way, doesn't it? And running well, Fletcher having a look to the inside of Tom Griffiths. He's got the line, and this is indicative. Oh, a little touch, goes a little bit sideways, does Patrick Fletcher, just to try and collect it up. No malice in any of those moves as well. And I was saying it was really good, clean racing, and Patch just with a little touch, getting sideways, backs out of it, keeps the car on track. Super stuff from him, but now he's got Tom Griffiths all over the back of him.
He does. Tom Griffiths, of course, is a race winner this season so far as well. Of course, he took that victory, that brilliant emotional victory for him and his family at Snetterton. He's been charging for so long, and he rates it as a really competitive series, as many people do. And that's not going to help Patrick Fletcher either. He was all twitchy and sideways, exiting the hairpin, and that's put him under threat from James Cousins, who's looking the most competitive I've seen him so far this season. They found something in terms of the pace for this number 24 car. I think that's one of the ex-Richard Amos cars. Didn't really have the speed in the first half of the season, but they found something either it's in these damp conditions or just in the break between the previous rounds at Anglesey and here at Croft. He's now managed to really find a bit more speed, and he's now right on the tail, in there in the top 5. He's quicker than I've seen him so far. Quick mention for the club class, a bit of a change around for that. It was Amy Watts leading, Amy Watts leading from pole. It's now Ollie Hall, who currently leads the class by a point in the championship standings, who's now ahead with Will Batali in 2nd place, and Amy Watts down to 3rd. So still in a podium place, but holding on. Now Wiggin now is under big pressure, this time from a dueling Griffiths and Fletcher. They're still wheel-to-wheel exiting Tower Bend on the sprint towards the Jim Clark S's, and Wiggin now's going to have a very tough time. He's going to try and attack but both defend. He's have to try and keep up chasing after Aidan Hills, but now going more defensive as he tries to hold off the charging pack behind, which is made up of Fletcher, Griffiths, Cousins, Sycamore, Stott and Brewer. They're all in the mix there too, and just behind them also are both Ollie Hall and Will Batali. They've pulled away from Amy Watts in that club class battle, so she's on her own by about roughly 6 seconds or so. Got some work to do in these damp conditions. As Griffiths now goes on to the attack, I've said this before and I've said it again many times, the harder this lot fight each other, easier it is for the cars around to make a break, particularly those in front. Griffiths looks up the inside to make the move for what will be 4th position, and Patch gets edged out wide. He might come back at him on the inside line. Griffiths looks at a little peek around the outside. Fletcher says thanks very much, opens up the space and through he goes. Cousins is all sideways on the exit. I told you it was all action in the MX5 Super Cup, and it's proving it again already in this first half of the race.
Yeah, mega racing. Harding clear was over 3 seconds on the last lap. This lap, the gap comes down by Aidan Hills to 2.7. It's Alex Stott, though, with the fastest lap. He's back in 7th place. That is how very competitive the sharp end of this championship is. There are imitations of this championship, but this is the real deal, and you'll see in the battle here going on at Croft as the 41 car Joe Wiggin runs a little bit wide, picking up good momentum to take him through the chicane, down the back straight-ish. We have to call it because it's not strictly straight as such, but Harding 2.7 the gaps. Hills will be trying to close him down. This the battle for 3rd.
Talk about closing down, look at the timing screen. Hills is already not just 8/10 quicker than Harding on the first sector alone. He set the fastest first sector of anybody. He won't be doing that if you're Patrick Fletcher running over the grass on the exit.
No.
He gets really shuffled out wide, and he really has been shuffled out of the queue, because look at the train of cars he's got around him. He shuffles back in just in front of Alex Stott, but he's now lost 3 spots as a result of that. He's lost out to Wiggin and to Griffiths, who now has Cousins up the inside. Where's this pace come from James Cousins? He's been a former race winner and championship contender, hasn't got on with this car at all the first half of the season, and suddenly, again, whether it's the conditions or the fact that it's just he's found some pace somewhere in that car, he's now just come alive. Here comes Fletcher down the outside of 1 and maybe 2, so he's defended from Stott, gone back around the outside of Cousins. That'll put him on the inside line for the next part into the complex, but he likes the outside line. Look, he's going down the inside of Griffiths. He's finding some grip somewhere as Patrick from somewhere. But Griffiths fights back on the inside. It's now 2 by 2 like Noah's Ark onto the hairpin. Through all of this is now Joe Wiggin. Fletcher dives up the inside, Stott's up the inside of all of them. Tags back and Wiggin, round goes Wiggin, it's tagged by Stott. And again the second time. And Ollie Hall, the club class leader, has nowhere to go and is straight into him. It's all action stations. Look at Will Battaglia in the white car, number 13. He's charged through. And that was all caused by Alex Stott. There's, I think, either water or smoke coming off the front of the 88 car, so he's possibly out of it. Fletcher back up the inside, defending from what is currently Will Battaglia. Now that's going to be 5th position now. So Will Battaglia leads the club classes in 6th place overall.
Punching, isn't he?
He is punching a little bit. He's got Jack Sycamore to his inside through the complex, and now they both go around wide. Over the runoff area goes the 30 of Tiley. Meanwhile, for Belias, before that happened, I noticed that on the last lap, it was the fastest first sector of the race for Aidan Hills. On the last lap, he was a full 2 seconds quicker on the last lap. So no wonder he's on his tail here, looking for the lead with just over 3.5 minutes to go. It is all kicked off, and it's only their first race of the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely mega stuff. And I think Will Battaglia was actually ahead of Ollie Hall on that previous lap for club class.
No, I think Ollie Hall was leading, but he was the one that got caught up behind Joe Wiggin, because he was in the middle of the road after he got tagged twice by Alex Stott. So Ollie Hall had to stop to avoid making contact, and because of that, I think that's now promoted Will Battaglia up to the lead.
Wilbur was at the ahead the lap before, though, on the lap chart. So they'd swapped again.
Okay, fair enough then. There you go. But he took full advantage whilst Ollie Hall fell backwards in that case. But either way, Ollie Hall's hit trouble. He's now way down the order. He's now down in, he's off the, is he off the, I'm trying to see where I think he's still ahead of, he's still ahead of Amy Watts somehow, despite all of that, because Amy was quite far back by several seconds. So because of that, he's now got some work to do. Either way, we're looking at the leaders here as Aidan Hills goes on the attack, down the outside towards Clairvaux. He'll look for the undercut and the switch back here on towards Hawthorns. Trying to just try and hoodwink and just try and confuse Jack a little bit. Apply that pressure all the way through Hawthorns, back through the S's, and add on to the back straight. Now he'll be right in the slipstream in terms of lap times. Hill was another 4/10 quicker. James Cousins, meanwhile, on the last lap, set the fastest first sector of anybody, so he's motoring along. As here comes Hills on the attack, down the outside, with Jack Harding again, driving like he's never been away from the championship. Hasn't lost any racecraft in these cars. Runs a little wide over the curb, but keeps the power down. I might lose him a touch momentum up towards Jim Clark S's. Aidan Hills is on his toes. He's right there, locked onto the rear bumper of the 65 car. We normally called him 43 Jack Harding, but somebody else has 43 this season. So because of that, he had to pick his second number. Through Barcroft, wiggling around with no grip, and here comes Hills up the inside, but Jack Harding again throws that block straight to the inside line. That was really good defensive drive from Jackie. Held him up, parked his car right on the apex of that first corner. Is forcing Aidan literally to go around the long way, but given the conditions, that might not be such a bad thing, because of course on the outside there's more grip, so therefore if Hills can get himself to the outside line, he might well find himself in a passing place. Superb stuff.
The other thing I like about Aidan Hills, and I'm not denigrating anyone else, but completely plain white as I can see it, crash helmet, doesn't do the, let's go off and do a fancy livery or anything else. It just puts on a plain white helmet, gets in and races the car. He's now reigning champion, still putting pressure on, but this is good defence by Jack Harding out front. We've got 1 minute 10 on the clock. So is this his last lap board going out, or are we on to penultimate lap? Just trying to have a look down, can't quite see. Here comes Hills though, onto the outside, coming down into Clairvaux. Has a look here, is he going to be able to go for the cutback? Cousins gets the fastest lap as Hills looks for the lead, thinks better of it here. He might have to do the chase through the chicane. Now he's got the inside run as they come through Tower. Hills has got the lead, he's got in front.
Excellent racecraft from Aidan Hills, slipping up the inside and making the move stick. So Aidan Hills on the final lap of the race hits the front in the MX-5 Super Cup, and from 12th on the grid, I remind you, that's a really good charge through the order again. in these adverse conditions, we remind you he is a junior rallycross champion before he came into circuit racing with the MX-5 Super Cup. He's also done a little bit of genetics on top of that too, but really showing just how quick he can be, particularly in these adverse conditions, and pushing on to what could be another win in the season. He's only taken so far for a defending champion, which is unusual, 2 wins this season. It'll be win number 3 if he can hold on, but he was all arms and elbows exiting the second part of the Jim Clark S's. But it's enough confidence and pace, it seems, to just pull away enough to put Jack Harding and that victory out of reach for the 65. Through Sonny and Sonny out. Behind them, it's looking still pretty close for 3rd and 4th position. Griffiths and Cousins are together. And if James Cousins, with the pace he's going, could possibly get onto the podium, what a story that could be. He's been out of it pretty much for most of the season, and in terms of performance, but if he can get onto the top 3 in the last couple of corners, that would really be a great story. Through the final couple of corners come the top 2 out of the complex. It's the hairpin. A final look from Jack Harding. He has a little look up the inside line. Tries to put himself sideways, but he's a little too twitchy on the exit. Can't get the power down. On the sprint to the checkered flag, it'll be a 3rd win of the season for defending Pro Class champion Aidan Hills. Victory in race 1 from 12th on the grid in the MX-5 Super Cup. Now this is for the lead, I think, in the club class, and somehow Ollie Hall is back to the lead on the final lap of the race, despite getting held up by a spinning and tagged Joe Wiggin. There's some evidence of the little contact he made there after having to stop. But somehow, Ollie Hall, on the last lap of the race, has retaken the club class lead and wins in the class on the final lap. Incredible. Global Tiny's car crawls across the line in 2nd place in club class. And 3rd place will go still to Amy Watts, but she's several seconds back after taking pole and getting the class. Across the line she goes. She will get the podium position. And behind, and look at the, oh, that's off the road, has gone 72, Steve Kite. So he's had a bit of adventure. And he crawls back on in front of both Jim Barrett and Joe Wiggins. So Joe Wiggins struggled round after his damage. He's lost out to Jim Barrett, so that will have pushed Joe Wiggins down to, I think, 17th, I think. We'll look across the line. There goes Clive Powles. Robertson comes across the line next. Then it'll be Jim Barrett, and then Joe Wiggins. So Wiggins comes across in 16th. He will be quite aggrieved after the contact from Alex Stott. Alex, meanwhile, of course, has pulled up on the circuit somewhere, so he was out of the race. We also lost Alex Jones from that race in the pit lane. Last car to come across the line is Chris Ginn, and he will take what will be 18th position in the end.